What's goody? What's goody? What's goody? Welcome back to another episode of the 76 Hour Podcast. This is episode 7 or siete para mis señoritas y papis. You are here with your boy Yeen, along with my main mans, Nyle, Stacks, Jax. How are you feeling tonight, my brother?
Feeling okay, bro. Almost had a heart attack after watching the ending of last night's game, but
Mm.
a win is a win nonetheless. So we all good over here.
And Bulls was live to almost watch that catastrophic collapse. Me and Nyle went to the game last night with my pops, and we were having a very good time. Let's handle some business. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. We will be creating a Sixers podcast each week until the team wins a championship, and that includes the playoffs as well, which are right around the corner. I believe it's in 10 days. So now and I will be doing that. So don't miss out on no unique Sixers content. But yeah, going back to the Celtics game yesterday, the Sixers won 103-101. Um, in non-spectacular fashion, Joel Embiid dropped 52 points, carrying the squad on his back.
50
Um,
burger.
a 50 burger plus two fries, um, as MVPs should do. The whole team had an off night, but Joel Embiid did what he had to do and got the squad a W against an opponent who we usually lose to a lot. So in my opinion, a win is a win. I don't necessarily care if Boston was down a few men. This is the second time that I believe we've played Boston, and we've actually held Jason Tatum in check. Um, so it is what it is. If I may ask you, before we actually dive into the main two topics of discussion for tonight, what did you see last night in terms of what the Sixers um, did or lack thereof against Boston and coming away with a W?
Well, number one, I think we played a very decent game defensively. Um, as far as Jason Tatum is concerned, he didn't have a spectacular night. Um, And I'll pull up his stats now, but from what I can remember from last night, he shot I think like 60% from the free throw line. I think like 7 of 20 something from the field. So I mean like we held them in check. And a lot of people will say, well, the Sixers don't like only won because, Jalen Brown and Robert Williams weren't playing. But what people fail to acknowledge is that Tyrese Maxey only had 5 points and he's averaging 20.
Mm,
Tobias Harris also had 5 points and he's averaging like 15, 16. So we had two players that didn't even really come close to their average production. And Harden gave us his average. He, had 20 and 10, I think on like 41% shooting, which is okay, not great, but not catastrophic either. So I mean, like he played okay, but outside of Harden, it was really Embiid and PJ Tucker. Came in when he
yes,
needed
sir.
to knock down those three big 3 pointers. Later in the game in the fourth quarter. Um, but yeah, I saw a team that struggled offensively, but turned to their best player to, really take them home and uh, take us to eventually win the game, which ultimately ended up happening. We were up, I think, like 6, 7 points with like 15 seconds left to go, and then with some arguable foul calls and sloppy play, um, that 7 point lead went to like a 2 point lead within a matter of like 10 seconds. So we definitely dragged out that game longer than it had to be. But even though in that 10-second span, like I don't look at that and think, okay, like this is how we're going to be in the playoffs. Cause like I said, a lot of those calls were questionable. Um, but I really think that we have a chance against Boston because we're probably either going to play them or Milwaukee in the second round.
Mm.
Um, Personally, I would rather have Milwaukee, but that's another conversation for another podcast. But Um, I mean, I saw that with like 6 minutes left to go, it seemed like Boston was, making a run. Derek White knocked down a few big shots, and 5 minutes left to go, and it's just like, damn, like it's like one of those games because like we were up for the majority of the
Majority,
game,
right?
and then the Sixers came back, and really put the game away. It was really only in question at at those last 10 seconds. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, that those last 10 seconds were very questionable. It wasn't a matter of, oh, like we didn't have the talent. It was just sloppy play and questionable calls. So um even though you want to see Maxi get his, and you want to see Tobias involved more, good teams find a way to win, and we did that last night. You know what I'm saying? So, and obviously Joel, can't say enough about him.
Hmm.
52-13 against a top seeded team in the Eastern Conference. So, we did what we had to do to pull out a win. It wasn't pretty when it got to the end, but a W is a W. So, there's a lot of things that we do need to clean up, but um, last night showed me that we are a defensive team, and we are resilient, and just because we're down. I mean, and we've seen it in a lot of games this year when the Sixers were down like a decent margin, and we thought, okay, like this is it. And I, at one point when we were at the game, thought, when Boston made that run, I'm like, yeah, Boston may have this in the bag. 6 minutes left to go, but we found a way to win, and that's what good teams do. That's what playoff teams do. That's what championship teams do. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we just got to keep building on that and just clean up the little ticky tack stuff so that moment that happened in the 10-15 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter doesn't become repetitive. But ultimately, I like what I saw. I just needed to see more from Maxi and more from Tobias, for real, for real.
So by this time, or by the time that this podcast is produced and sent out live into the internet interwebs, we will have played the Miami Heat. We're not going to talk about that per se because we know that the season is essentially done.
Because we're like locked into the third seed, right?
Yeah, as well as Boston and Milwaukee being locked into their seeds, basically. So I was going to ask you, actually. So one of our viewers last week, I believe his name was Jared B. He asked me to delve into a question this week, and he wanted to know what our thoughts was on the bench, um, and all of the inconsistencies that they have had the last, you know, 5 years. So now, in your opinion, what is your thoughts on this iteration of the Sixers bench? Personally, I would say since we have the deepest roster in the Joel Embiid era, I can't call this current version trash.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just think that the play style that we play with Embiid being our like main guy, um, and like him demanding the ball so much, these other players don't have the ball in their hand as much, so they don't necessarily get a rhythm. Thus, the inconsistency, meaning that they're either going to be hot or be cold, coming off of the bench. Um, I personally have no issue with it. I've told you time and time again, the only way that we are going to win a championship is if each player on this team, from the first man to I assume Doc is probably going to run like what 8-man, 7-man rotation. If every man on that playoff rotation does his job to the uber extent, we can have no slacks. Why? Because we can't afford to. We don't. Um, we do not get that benefit of the doubt. So what are your like thoughts on this iteration of the bench this year. I like know you were vehemently asking the question, where is Montrezl Harrell, who has not really played any games since the All Star break? And also, I just peeped, Shake hasn't been playing either, low key. And like I thought he was actually playing well. I'm also confused why Furkan isn't. I'm obviously ki- kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, thoughts on the bench this year?
Yeah, let's start with Montrez real quick. Cuz I was really excited when I learned that we were going to sign him. And I don't think that Montrez is a bum. I think he won a six man of the year award a
Under
few.
Glenn,
Yeah.
under Glenn too.
So like he not just some bum player, but I just think that he doesn't fit well, um, with the Sixers. I think he's basically an undersized center, and because I think he's like 6'7", so like he's like for a more so of a power forward. But when you have Paul Reed, who who's more built, for the center position, at least physically, it's and especially the way Paul has been playing these last couple of games. He gets offensive boards like a monster. Like he's crazy on the board. So I get why he's getting a more minutes over Montrez, but I think Montrez will probably be going after this season, but like I I just don't think he's just a good fit for this team specifically. But I do recognize his skill set and what he brings to the table, especially his toughness, and
Mhm.
that's the main reason why I was like he's going to be good for this bench unit. So I still would love to see him out there, but it just doesn't look like he's going to get any minutes come playoff time. But
I th-
um,
I
go
think
ahead.
he's like signed for like another year. I think there's
Really?
a player
Mm.
option after this season, but he might just stay around since like his stock hasn't gone up per se. And like he's the boy is like what making like three, not even three, like what 6 mil. Uh, he's making more than like 1 mil, and
Yeah.
I don't know if he would make that somewhere else at his age, but I apologize for
Are you cool?
cutting you off.
No, yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, like I was always, like I said, a huge fan of his toughness, and like with him and PJ, and even though he's undersized, like Montrez is tough, bro. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And I
Hmm.
just really liked his physicality and what he brings on the defensive end, his passion, his intensity, and I feel like that's something that we lacked, and that's why we brought PJ and Montrez here to add that physical toughness element. um, but yeah, I mean, like, I don't think he'll get minutes in the playoffs. But personally, as a Montrez fan, I would definitely like to see him out there more, and he probably might get some more minutes in these next few games because if we're locked into the third seed, and I think if Milwaukee wins tonight, they'll be locked in officially for the one seed. And I know Boston, like you said, is closing in on the two. So if like the first three seeds are locked in, the Sixers may just rest their starters and just let all the other guys play. But in terms of like all the bench in its totality, um, I do think it was a slight upgrade from last year. I really do like D. Anthony Melton, especially what he brings on the defensive end as well. He can shoot the three. He has been inconsistent as well. But see, like the thing
Hmm.
with this bench is that when this bench is hidden, and Milton is out there knocking down threes, George Niang is out there knocking down threes, and Paul Reed is getting rebounds, and like we have a solid bench, but like when they don't produce, it's like a huge problem. And come playoff time, I think the three main players that Doc is going to use off the bench is going to be um D. Anthony Melton,
I agree.
George Niang, and probably Paul Reed. They may slip um they
McDaniels though,
yeah,
I'm gonna see him.
yeah, like especially when or if we play the Celtics in the second round because we're gonna need that wing defense. But outside of that is gonna be Niang, Melton, and Paul Reed. And maybe Shake occasionally, but I don't even think we're gonna see a whole lot of him. But Um, I like the bench, but I mean, like I said before, with George Niang, he choked in the playoffs last year. George Niang has to come through. He was our
Mm.
best bench player last year. I think,
Niang gang.
yeah, and I think that D Anthony is our best bench player this year. But I don't even think he scored last night.
He
So
didn't.
it's like it's things
He
like
didn't.
that. Yeah, like it's things like that. That just can't happen when we're going. I mean, we may be able to get away with it for a good minute against Brooklyn, but when we get into the second round and we're playing Milwaukee and Boston, everybody got to hit on all cylinders. Like for Milwaukee, when Bobby Portis come off the bench, Bobby Portis be balling. He be getting buckets. You know what I mean? The same with Malcolm Brogdon with the Celtics.
Mm.
And I feel like with the Sixers, it's like a hit or miss. It's like, I mean, George Niang may go on a tear and knock down like 4 or 5 threes and drop 16 points for the night, and then the next night he can't hit anything and he got zero. The same with D
Donut.
Anthony. The same with D Anthony Melton. So it's like we have to be we have to be consistent, and then this is where Doc comes in, where he has to draw up, plays to get these players involved. It can't just be like, just give the ball to MB, when we're going through a stretch where we can't get a bucket. Now, there are going to be times where that's going to be necessary, but, and like we were talking about last night when we were at the game, like Doc needs to draw up more plays for Tobias instead of just making him a catch and shoot player.
Mm.
Um, I know he runs plays for Niang when he comes in off the bench, but we this is this is where we're going to see how or if Doc really improved from his coaching from last year. Because I know, like, even like from a few years ago when people were on him for playing that all bench lineup, and we were getting torched, and you know what I mean. So, and I feel like he's slightly improved from that to an extent, but. This is where we're really going to see, because, like you said, this is an all hands on deck kind of thing. Like, we're
So
going to need
you
contributions from everybody. Like, Joel averaging 30 and 10 in the playoffs isn't going to be enough. Like, Harden got to be on his shit. Maxi got to produce. Tobias, like Tobias especially needs to produce. You know what I'm saying? So
the whole crazy thing is, like, if you actually look, like, Tobias really plays well during the playoffs,
he
or
did
at
come through
least
last year. He did.
initially. Like,
Yeah.
he does be on his ish now, like, not to the point where, like, he takes us over the top, because clearly each year we always lose in the second round. But with that being said, other than the bubble season, he's produced what he had to do in
He does when he needs to. Yeah.
each playoff year.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people hate, Tobias Harris. Like, it's crazy because my dad does not like Tobias Harris, like, at all. Like, I don't like Tobias, but like the thing is, like, I
Told
mean,
you.
I like Tobias though. I mean, like Tobias isn't ass. Like, he's a
Mm,
good quality, stretch for borderline three player that can give you anywhere between 16 and 18 and 5 to 8 boards a game. Like those are starter quality numbers. You know what I'm saying?
mm.
So I mean, like, is he overpaid? Yes, but you know, it is what it is. Like, I think his contract is up after this year, I think.
Next year.
Well, yeah, next
Next
year.
year. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like he has to come through again in the playoffs, and like he's very streaky. There'll be times when he'll hit like 2 to 3 3-pointers in a row and he's hot, but that's not his game. And it's like when they're double teaming Joel in the post, we need to be drawing up plays for getting the ball to Tobias in the post, because like he can. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, his post moves aren't on the same level as Embiid's, but he can do some damage down there. And
Mm.
we've seen how he does in the post, and then I don't think it messes up the spacing, because Joel is still a good enough 3-point shooter where you still have to respect his shot.
Respect it.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Doc needs to take advantage of that, and especially if Toby is on his game within the post and Embiid is on his game in the post, that's going to open up pass lanes, because they're going to have to double team somebody, because like, and I think this is something that that you alluded to yesterday. Like, I feel like with Boston's strategy against playing the Sixers is okay. Like, we'll let Joel get his. We'll put Robert Williams or Al Horford on him. We'll let him get his, but we ain't gonna let nobody else get theirs. So if you let Toby be on his game, it's like now you kind of create a pick your poison kind of thing, and that's going to open up the doors for Maxey. That's going to allow Harden to do his tween curl cross. All you know what I mean. So like I really feel like Tobias is like the X factor, because like we don't really have a post threat outside of Embiid if Tobias isn't playing well. So that's going to be on Doc to figure out. So hopefully he can get his strategies up together. I mean, like, we can make it past Brooklyn, but when we get into that second round, the lights are going to be bright. All eyes are going to be on the Sixers, and we got to deliver. So,
hey, man,
bro, we got to deliver.
I am excited to see what they do. Of course, I don't, as a logical statement myself, I can't logically say that I would have the Sixers beating the Celtics
I agree.
in a series.
But I think we have a chance, though.
But we do have a puncher's chance and a fighting chance. And in the NBA, where anything can happen, that's all you can really ask for. But who knows? Maybe we sweep the Nets, and Boston takes whoever they play to 7 games. Who knows? We will get back to y'all on that one. But yeah, speaking about Boston and last night's game, I had fun. It was a very intense matchup.
Thanks.
I'm gonna show y'all some clips of last night that I feel would be fun to watch. Enjoy.
And a 7-foot. Hustle till the sun come up. Crack a 40 when the sun go down. It's a cold winter. Y'all better bundle up. Admit, PJ balling out. Y'all know me. I talk that smack on PJ. The man say it again. Shout out to the boy PJ Tucker. Alright, so now and I are coming back home from the Sixers C's game. What is your thoughts on tonight's victory? Almost L, but victory.
We definitely dragged this joint way too long than it had to be. We made it much more difficult than it had to be, but at the end of the day, a W is a W. A W is a W, you know what I'm saying? So that's all we worried about, bro.
So yeah, we are back. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that editing. There was this clip in there. It was you next to this like wild behind Philly
was funny,
hater, bro. Mans was going like on every single second of the second half. Like, he was calm the first quarter. I feel like he was trying to fill out the like crowd. Like, he's like, okay, how crazy is these boys near me? But like, as the quarters
and his girl
and his girl too. Shout out to his girl though, because she was a ride or die.
Facts.
you want that type of woman by your side,
Facts,
man.
though, bro. Facts.
But they were cool though. Now the reason I bring this up is because I felt some type of way that like Mans was even comfortable to do that in my stadium. Like, one, the game was not as loud as I thought it would be overall. It did not feel like a playoff intensity game in my opinion. Boston fans were like making hella noise. And Philly fans just sat there and took it for what it was. I feel as though the Philly fan has gotten soft over the last few years. Now. Last night could be or the feeling last night could be for a myriad of reasons. One, the Philly fan is coming off of the Eagles Super Bowl loss as well as the Phillies
And the Union.
Championship losses, so our heart probably isn't in it as much. Fair. And two, I was talking to my boy Snar on Instagram. Shout out to him, number one or day one follower. He was saying potentially, since the game tickets cost last night was like hella bread, maybe not the common folk Philadelphian went, and it was more so the suburb folks who like weren't as intense, which is like maybe not. Either way, like I don't understand why like Boston fans feel comfortable coming into my city talking all this smack, and like they were allowed just to leave the stadium with like no heckling. This is not New Jersey. This is not LA where like boys could like care less. Like this is Philadelphia, and I expect more, right? So like, what is your thoughts on just like the state of the Philly fan? Do you think we are jaded? Do you think we have become soft? And like, what the hell is going on here?
Actually, I mean, I don't think that we're becoming soft in general. I think that it's just an issue strictly with Boston. If like we played the Cavaliers last night, they not coming in acting like that. You know what I'm saying? Like if like this is any other, like even if it's Milwaukee, I really don't think that they're coming in, especially since like we've shown that we can beat Milwaukee. And I feel like we match up better against them, which is why I would rather see them in the second round other than Boston. But Boston has had our number for years, bro. There was this stat I was hearing on this sports show. I think it's called First Things First, and they were talking about Joel Embiid's game. And apparently, I think they say within the last 3 seasons, the Celtics are 8-1 against the Sixers in the playoffs. And that was just like, damn, like Boston has had our number for a while, for multiple seasons. So they feel as though, they can just come into our building and, just do what they want. I mean, and even after we lost, like we heard Celtics chants and, stuff like that. But until we show that we can beat Boston on a consistent basis, then I feel like that narrative is going to switch, and you'll see those Boston fans act a little bit different. But Boston has always had our number. But like I said, if this was any other team, if this were the Bucks, if this were the Suns, if this were the Memphis Grizzlies, like I don't think they, because I mean like you see how Philly fans are, like, and not even just with the Sixers, but like the Eagles and stuff. Like I think there was a time like last year where like they were throwing like beer cans at like fans at like the Eagle Stadium. I think it was at like the Vikings game or something like that. Like Philly fans be drawn, but like I mean, it's like it's strictly just with Boston and Boston was like the main hump that have always failed at getting above. And even though it was an important win that we got last night, it's like Joel Embiid dropped 52 points and we only won by like 2 points.
That's true. Right.
Now, granted, obviously everything has to have context to it, and like I was saying before, a lot of questionable calls that probably shouldn't have been called, which led to that. So that wasn't strictly, we all get that, but it's just like, if you ask every real Sixers fan that watches basketball, hey, would you put your money on the Sixers beating the Celtics in the second round?
Hell no.
Sixers fans that know basketball and know what they're talking about, like, nah, I wouldn't put my money on
No.
it. I wouldn't put my money on it.
Hell
And
no.
see, and that's because we know that Boston has had our number for like the past however many years. So, and Celtics fans know that. So like Celtics fans know that we're riding off of hope that well, one day we can beat this team and one day we can beat y'all in the second round and but Boston is going more so off of assurance because of
history.
Their history.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why those fans in particular feel comfortable coming into Philly and to do whatever. And like when you really look at Boston and Philly in terms of the cities, like I feel like Boston and Philly, and you can probably chime in on this too, because I've never physically been to Boston before, but Boston's also a big sports town, just like Philly is. So I mean, their fans are kind of similar to Philly fans in a way, and they had that cockiness, just like we kind of had that Philly cockiness too, and especially they had that cockiness in addition to them beating us every year in the regular season and postseason. That only adds more fuel to the fire.
And championships. Recent championship. Bro.
They riding that 2008 John way too long. But yeah, bro. I just think that we have to prove to ourselves and prove to Boston that we're not scared of them. And I feel like with that run that we made, being down, I think we were down like 5-6 points with 6 minutes left to go, and we were able to overcome that. That was a good sign. And I really feel like, yeah, Jaylen Brown wasn't playing, but Maxey and Tobias weren't on their games either. So, I think we have a shot. And depending on how game one of that second round playoff series goes, then we can get a better analysis. Like, even if we lose game one, depending on how the game goes and how we lose is going to show, okay, we can still beat this team. Because I think it's really just going to come down to a matter of like scheme, because I feel like we really have the talent. I honestly feel that way, but it's just a matter of how we match up and execution. But yeah, that's basically why I think Celtics fans think that they can just come up in here. I don't think it's like a Philly problem. I think it's strictly just for Boston.
Fair enough. And I think it is very poetic that this is the team that we're probably going to play. Jordan had to get over the Pistons. The Pistons had to get over the Celtics. The Celtics, I guess, had to get over Philly, even though we only won once.
And Cleveland had to get over Golden State in the end of winning the chip.
So it is what it is. I'm looking at you, Joel. I'm looking at you, James. Get out the freaking second round.
Please, just like let's just get to the conference finals, and then we can, talk about all the other stuff, past that. But like that's step one. Just get out the second round.
That's finna be a dope series too, bro. I can't wait to actually do fan interviews. But shoot. We still have to get out of round one fully healthy first.
And also to go off of that, especially if we're locked into the third seed, do you think that we should rest our starters these last 3 games?
I probably would, just because I don't want them to get hurt. Then again, you want your players
to be
fresh and like roll. Well, not like fresh, but like in a groove.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So I probably wouldn't rest them because at this point it is what it is. If they're going to get like hurt now, they were going to get hurt then in the play. Well, not. I would just say, okay, I'm a superstitious guy. I feel as though in years past we have done things to like basically make the like playoffs go our way, or like we manipulated games just so we would play certain teams and it never worked. So I feel like we should do the spiritual thing and like play the right way, just play our guys and then like pull them in the third or like fourth, and then you just go from there, because I think we need as much practice as we can get. So I would play the geysers. You?
I think that we probably should rest them. I mean, I would like us to win these last 3 games, but if we're going to be locked into the third seed, they technically don't matter. But I've just seen Embiid be hurt every playoff series for the past few years, and I know James Harden is battling in Achilles injury. And a few days ago, he was quoted basically saying that he doesn't think that his injury is going to go away. It's something that he's going to just have to like play through.
To do it.
But we're going to need everybody healthy, and I just want to make sure that that everybody is at somewhat full strength. I mean, because like at this point in the season, nobody's really super duper 100%. Everybody's kind of banged up to an extent. But we need James healthy. We need Joel healthy, especially. So I just probably would like sit them, have them, rehab, and then when we get, that game against Brooklyn, it's like, okay, everybody's healthy, sort of, and you guys have had time to rest. So let's go out and, let's get this win. And then I feel like, that'll get us amped up to whoever we're going to play in the second round. So, yeah, bro. I mean, like, I just want to just make sure that all my players is healthy, because it's just like I'm just tired of, because like even with like last year when we were playing the Heat, it's like Embiid had the broken face and he had the issue with his thumb, and it's just like I just want a fully healthy Joel Embiid this playoff series, and there was always something before every playoff series in years prior. So I just want to make sure that everybody's taken care of, so that we don't have to go through that again. But yeah, I probably would rest him. I would want to see them play, but I'm just gonna side with caution this time because of years prior.
Word to the bird. I think that is going to wrap up our show for tonight. I want to thank everybody for pulling up and listening to two Bulls talk about their favorite basketball team, the Philadelphia 76ers. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel for more unique Sixers content from a black male perspective. How about that? I hope y'all learned something. The Sixers play tomorrow, Good Friday, which is oh wow, that's like a the anniversary of our little skirmish during high school.
Yeah.
Shout out to those Bulls. If you are if y'all are watching, it is all love. May God bless you. We play the Heat, and then there's 2 more away games. I believe it is the Hawks on Saturday, and then the Nets on Sunday. And then the 2022-2023 season will be finito onto the playoffs. Yeah. I hope everybody has a great night, and I hope y'all learned something. We will talk to y'all in a few days. Peace.